I'm going to talk a little bit about marketing and what we try and do behind our games and what everybody else is really doing about marketing nowadays. As you know, a lot of consumers are really changing the behaviors. A lot of these behaviors are kind of driven by technology, right? Most of us are now engaging with media in really different ways. We're engaging with our medias through clouds, right? Most of our stuff is digital, that we no longer go to the Best Buys or the Blockbusters to buy movies. They're all stored in clouds. We also see it with connecting with family, connecting with friends, and also connecting with brands. Technology is really driving changes in those ways. We really see it in the video game industry. If you look at our industry, in 2001, about 200 million consoles were in the market. By the end of this year, we're going to see 1.5 billion gaming devices in the market. It's pretty amazing. I also heard Cisco say that by the end of 2020, there's going to be 20 billion web-connected devices in the world, 7 billion mobile devices by 2015. Pretty amazing numbers. So we start to see the way that people are really changing and engaging with products as well as brands. It really means that marketing needs to change as well. So we're starting to see a lot of those changes happening through brands. As you're a brand guy, you start to work through your marketing plans, and there's always the nice to haves, and those are always kind of cut off, and you're always focused on the things that you must do. We're starting to see a lot of the things that are cut kind of become much more important. The things that we really see are really collaborations, lifestyle marketing, engagement marketing. These kind of ways of marketing have always been kind of relegated to, you know, the urban lifestyle kind of, you know, shoe culture. In the different cultures that we're always, this is the kind of core basis, and it was always nice to have for big brands. We're starting to see a lot of this stuff change. Some good examples are really within what's going on in collaboration, two brands kind of working together. You see a lot of different styles within collaboration. You know, a pretty obvious one, right? Two matching kind of audiences that fit well together, right? Doritos is going to make the shell for Taco Bell's tacos, right? For those audience, that's a big win. You start to see other brands kind of working in different ways. When you see fashion really kind of get into these huge brand promotions and working collaboratively together for sale product, right? Coca-Cola working with Jean-Paul Gaultier. You start to see, when you see Gucci starting to work with Fiat and J.Lo to bring a car to the United States at a luxury, you know, really at a reasonable price that you know, it's aspirational. You also start to see, you know, a company like Hennessy's making cognac, and they're bringing in, you know, what used to be a graffiti artist is now a world-renowned artist named Cause, building their bottles for them, right? It's really about taking for sale product and making it different. Then you start to see kind of promotional ways to build your brand. These are characters from Final Fantasy, which is in Prada's 2012 spring catalog. You know, it's blending these two audiences together. You start to see collaborations that are in even better in different ways. When you start to see Jay-Z and Bing collaborate on his autobiography, it kind of seems like a weird mix until you decide, what are you going to do with this? Well, actually what Jay-Z did was they took each page out of his biography and put them all around the world in places that were really relevant to what he was doing in his life at the time and what really comes through in the book. Draining the pool at the Delano, putting his pages in that, having Gucci actually physically make a jacket with one of his pages printed in it, taking a bronze plaque in the Marcy Playgrounds where he grew up, and really kind of engaging with your consumers. And I think the idea behind collaboration is really about taking these bartered economies that each of these kind of groups have. Taco Bell and Doritos kind of have a shared equity. Well, Coca-Cola and Jean-Paul Gaultier have far different audiences. How do they leverage the equity from each of those? Shared consumers, building trust from these audiences, and really delivering unexpected joy. So it's a fascinating way to see kind of where collaborations go. Then you start to see where lifestyle is going. You see the way that different brands kind of engaging with their consumers' lifestyles in far different ways. I think Apple's a really good example of someone who's actually building a new lifestyle for their consumers, right? What they do is changing the way that their consumers live. You can see that clearly they're having success if you have 10,000 people line up for a phone at midnight. You see other brands building their brand off existing lifestyles their consumers have. Red Bull's a really good example, right? The first thing Red Bull would tell you is we're actually a media technology company. They're not really a liquid beverage company. They do a lot of different things. They spend about 200,000 hours a year in video capture, and that's all they do is kind of release these kind of great aspirational videos and kind of engage with their customers in all new ways. If you haven't seen Robbie's Jump at New Year's in Vegas, it's one of the most unbelievable things that you could ever imagine. Again, that's how they're connecting with their consumers' lifestyles. Then you take a look at kind of EA Sports and what we're doing, and I think, you know, we're well over 20 years old. We're a packaged goods company, and we've been really shifting to much more of a digital pure play entertainment company. It's less about products or games as goods, but games as services. So as we change as a company, how do we kind of change our marketing? And it's really about building around the lifestyles of our consumers, right? So we opened a bar in Vegas. So how do we kind of connect to our average audience is 27 years old. How do we connect with them in different ways, connect with them in multiple platforms, and how do we really kind of get engaged in the fanaticism about our product and really be aspirational? What really is the value of this lifestyle stuff is really playing off the inherent benefits that products or brands can offer their consumers. How can what I'm doing for you as a consumer really fit into the lifestyle you have? How is it consistent with the things that you're doing? And how do I continue to build that fanaticism that you have for our brand and make it even bigger and stronger? Then the most powerful thing that we're really seeing is kind of engagement. How can you get consumers to engage with your product? I think one of the most fascinating kind of programs that you saw Pepsi do 2 years ago was they actually took all their Super Bowl media and they put it in the hands of their consumers. They didn't buy any Super Bowl TV ads. They said, hey, let's build the Refresh Project. And that's about kind of allowing their consumers to tell them where they're going to spend their monies. How do they build programs which are aspirational and put the power back in their consumers' hands? Then you see other brands like Foursquare, Instagram, or some of the tech companies that are really building their own kind of engagement properties. So, I had to check in backstage, right? I'm not going to really go anywhere unless I'm going to get credit for where I'm going. It's really about the gamification of life. How can you kind of engage with consumers and turn lives into much more fun things? So you see it with these kind of companies, but you also see it with companies like Nike, which is an athletic performance company. They've always said everyone's an athlete, right? Well, now everyone's a gamer. I'm not going to go for a run unless my fuel band is charged because I actually want credit for the run, not just the exercise and hopefully the weight loss, but also the credit so I can share what I've been doing physically. We started to see the same thing, and this is really what's kind of been driving us at EA Sports is how do we do the same thing? I actually took this picture. This is 2006. This is how we used to announce the cover of our products. This is Donovan McNabb, the cover of Madden 06, and we used to, there'd be 6 of us, Sandy Sandoval, myself, about 4 other people would sit in a room and say, okay, let's put this guy on the cover. Let's put him in a hotel room, and then let's have media come in and talk about it. This is how we used to announce our covers. We decided we really want to have fans at the table and have them help us make decisions, really kind of drive that engagement with our consumer. So how do we do it? We actually found a partner like Doritos, and we said, okay, let's let the Doritos consumers kind of pick the cover of our athlete. It was very successful. Lots of people talked about it, got people really excited about our covers, and we said, okay, from now on, everything we're going to be doing through social, through marketing, is going to be really engaging with our consumers. So what happened? This is what happened 2 weeks ago in Times Square. We actually announced the cover of Madden NFL 13 was Calvin Johnson on the cover. And the idea was we let consumers vote, somebody from all 32 teams, and we let the consumers fully have power of who's going to be on the cover. So this is a live broadcast on ESPN. So this is much different than Donovan McNabb in a hotel room. This is about giving the consumers the power and choice. So when you take what engagement's really about, is kind of giving that ownership to consumers, sharing that information flow. It's about transparency. How do you build that organic, authentic relationship with your consumer? And the power of social is really driving these abilities. So I think when you start to take what you talk about with collaborations, what you talk about with lifestyles, what you talk about with engagements, and you start to marry those things, I think what you'll learn is personalization really breeds passion with your consumers. And I think the critical element of that is empowering your customers, and it's going to help you empower your brand. Thank you.